Dinner is the meal most people get most wrong for belly fat. Not because they eat too much, because they eat the wrong things in the wrong order for how their body works in the evening. And the frustrating part is that most of what people eat at dinner feels completely reasonable. A proper meal after a long day, something satisfying. Maybe a glass of wine, maybe a little dessert. All of it feels deserved. All of it is quietly building belly fat overnight while you sleep. 7 habits change that completely. And stay with me because habit number 4 is the one that will genuinely surprise you. It is something most people consider healthy or at worst harmless, and it is blocking up to 73% of your overnight fat burning every single night you do it. Drop a comment right now. What does your typical dinner look like, and what time do you usually eat it? Why dinner decides belly fat. Here is the biology that makes dinner the most critical meal of the day for belly fat. 2 things happen in the evening that happen at no other time. First, insulin sensitivity hits its daily low. Your body handles carbohydrates most efficiently in the morning and least efficiently at night. The same bowl of pasta at 8 p.m. creates a dramatically higher insulin response than the same bowl at 8 a.m. More insulin means more fat storage, less fat burning. Second, your most powerful overnight fat-burning hormone releases while you sleep. Growth hormone. Growth hormone specifically targets visceral fat, the dangerous fat around your organs, and converts it to fuel while you rest. But growth hormone and insulin are antagonists. When one is elevated, the other is suppressed. If insulin is still elevated when you fall asleep, growth hormone cannot do its job. The overnight fat-burning window never opens. What you eat at dinner determines whether insulin falls low enough before sleep for that window to open. A study in obesity found that dinner composition and timing were more predictive of overnight fat storage and morning visceral fat markers than any other daily meal. Not breakfast, not lunch, dinner. 7 habits decide which direction your dinner pushes that window. Habit number 1. Making protein. The centerpiece of dinner. Look at what naturally lean people actually eat for dinner. There is almost always a clear protein source at the center. Fish, chicken, beef, eggs, legumes, tofu. Not pasta with a small amount of chicken mixed in. Chicken with vegetables on the side, and a modest amount of carbs, if any. The protein is the main event. Everything else is built around it. Here's what that does overnight. Protein has the highest thermic effect of any macronutrient. Your body burns 25 to 30% of protein calories just to digest it. That heat generation runs through the night while you sleep. Protein also stimulates glucagon, the hormone that does the opposite of insulin. Where insulin tells fat cells to store, glucagon tells fat cells to release. When protein is the centerpiece of dinner, glucagon rises alongside the smaller insulin response. Fat cells receive a release signal instead of a storage signal. And protein at dinner supports overnight muscle repair. More muscle over time means a higher resting metabolic rate. More fat burned every hour, even when you are doing nothing. A study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that a protein-rich dinner produced higher overnight fat oxidation, greater glucagon response, and measurably higher resting metabolic rate the following morning compared to a carbohydrate-rich dinner of the same total calories. Same calories. More fat burned overnight, from protein being the centerpiece. Sarah made one change. She stopped centering her dinner around pasta and rice and started centering it around a protein source with vegetables on the side. She did not eat less, just differently. 3 weeks later, she noticed her mornings felt different. More energy, less bloating. Her waist measurement had started moving. Fix. At dinner tonight, put the protein on the plate first. Build everything else around it. That simple shift changes the hormonal outcome of the entire night. But here is where most people immediately undo that benefit. Habit number 2 is what most people pile alongside that protein, and it creates more fat storage than the protein prevents. Habit number 2, making dinner. The most carb-heavy meal of the day. This is the mistake that feels completely normal. Breakfast was quick, maybe just coffee. Lunch was a sandwich at the desk. Dinner is the real meal. A big bowl of pasta, rice with multiple dishes alongside, bread with everything, maybe dessert after. All the carbohydrates of the day concentrated into the one meal eaten when your body is least equipped to handle them. Here is what happens biologically. At dinner time, insulin sensitivity is at its daily low. Your cells are not responding to insulin as efficiently as they were this morning. Your body has to produce significantly more insulin to process the same glucose load. A study in Current Biology measured this directly. The same carbohydrate portion consumed at dinner produced a 50% higher insulin response compared to the same portion consumed at breakfast. 50% more insulin from the same food, just because of when it arrived. More insulin means a stronger fat storage signal. And crucially, more insulin circulating when you fall asleep means growth hormone cannot release properly. The overnight fat burning window stays closed. Fix. Shift your carbohydrates toward breakfast and lunch when your body handles them most efficiently. Keep dinner protein and vegetable dominant. If you want carbohydrates at dinner, keep the portion small and eat them last. You are not cutting carbs. You are eating them when your biology is on your side instead of against you. Now here is the good news. There is something you can add to dinner that reduces the insulin impact of whatever carbohydrates remain on the plate. Most people skip it entirely. Habit number 3. Skipping vegetables before the main course. In many cultures with low obesity rates, a starter of vegetables, salad, or light soup precedes the main dinner course. Not as a diet strategy. As tradition. Your great-grandparents probably did this without knowing the mechanism. Here is the mechanism. Fiber from vegetables forms a gel-like substance in your stomach when mixed with liquid. That gel physically lines your digestive tract. When the carbohydrates from the main course arrive afterward, they have to pass through that gel before reaching your small intestine. Glucose enters your bloodstream slowly and steadily instead of flooding it. The insulin spike from the main course is measurably lower. Additionally, the volume of vegetables activates stretch receptors in your stomach before the main course begins. Your brain starts receiving fullness signals earlier. You naturally eat a smaller portion of the main course without deciding to restrict yourself. A study in Appetite Journal found that eating a vegetable starter before the main dinner course reduced total meal calorie intake by 11% and lowered post-meal insulin response compared to eating the same foods without the starter. 11% fewer calories consumed. Lower insulin from eating more food, not less. Fix. Before your main dinner, eat something green first. A simple salad. Steamed broccoli, cucumber, and tomato with a little olive oil. It does not need to be impressive. 5 minutes of vegetables before the main course primes your entire digestive system for a lower insulin dinner. But now here is the habit that surprises people most. What most people pour alongside dinner is blocking overnight fat burning more completely than anything else on this list. Habit number 4. Drinking alcohol with dinner. This one is uncomfortable to talk about because it feels moderate and reasonable. 1 glass of wine with dinner, maybe 2. You have read that red wine has antioxidants. You are not binge drinking, it is just dinner. Here is what is actually happening while you enjoy that glass. Your liver treats alcohol as a toxic substance that needs to be cleared before anything else. Not because it is being dramatic, because alcohol is genuinely a priority threat to your cells. While your liver is processing alcohol, it stops doing fat metabolism. Not reduces it, stops it. Every hour your liver spends clearing alcohol is an hour it is not burning stored fat. If you drink 2 glasses of wine with dinner and take 3 hours to clear them, your liver is unavailable for fat metabolism for those 3 hours. Those 3 hours are the exact window when insulin should be falling after dinner and fat burning should be starting. And there is a second effect specific to overnight fat burning. Alcohol directly suppresses growth hormone secretion during sleep. A study in alcoholism clinical and experimental research found that alcohol consumed with dinner suppressed overnight fat oxidation by up to 73% and significantly reduced growth hormone secretion during the night compared to the same dinner without alcohol, 73%. Not a minor reduction. 3/4 of your overnight fat burning capacity blocked by dinner drinks. Fix. This is not about never drinking. It is about understanding what each glass costs you in overnight fat burning. When you do choose to drink, finishing at least 3 hours before sleep gives your liver partial clearance time before growth hormone release begins. And when you skip the alcohol at dinner, the overnight window opens cleanly. Now here is the one thing most people do at the very end of dinner that resets insulin right when it needs to be falling. Habit number 5. Eating sweet dessert immediately after dinner. Dinner is done. You feel good. Something sweet to finish the meal feels like the natural ending. A scoop of ice cream, a piece of chocolate, a biscuit with tea. Just something small. Here is the specific problem with that timing. After dinner, insulin begins falling from its post-meal peak. It needs to fall continuously for 2 to 3 hours before it reaches the low threshold where fat burning can begin. A sweet dessert eaten 60 to 90 minutes after dinner sends glucose into your bloodstream right in the middle of that descent. Insulin stops falling and spikes again. The clock resets. It now takes another 2 to 3 hours from the dessert for insulin to fall low enough for fat burning to begin. A study in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology found that a high glycemic dessert consumed 60 minutes after dinner delayed the return of insulin to baseline levels by an average of 3.2 hours compared to no dessert. 3.2 hours of overnight fat burning lost from one dessert. Fix: if you want something sweet after dinner, 2 options that preserve your fat burning window. Move the sweet item into the main meal so the glucose arrives as part of the larger meal response, rather than as a separate post-dinner insulin spike. Or replace the dessert with something that does not raise insulin meaningfully. A few squares of dark chocolate above 85% cocoa. A cup of herbal tea. A small handful of berries. The craving for something sweet after dinner is real. The craving does not require you to lose 3.2 hours of overnight fat burning to satisfy it. Habit number 6. Eating your largest meal at dinner. This is the habit that feels the most justified. You were too busy for a real breakfast. Lunch happened at your desk in 15 minutes. Dinner is the first chance you have had to actually sit down and eat properly all day. So dinner becomes the main event. The largest meal, the most food, the most carbohydrates. All of it landing at the time of day when your body is least equipped to handle it and needs insulin to be low before sleep. A study in obesity found that participants who consumed their largest daily meal at dinner showed significantly higher visceral fat accumulation and lower overnight growth hormone secretion compared to those eating the same total daily calories with dinner as the smallest meal. Same total food across the day. Bigger dinner produced more visceral fat. Smaller dinner produced more overnight fat burning. This is the single most impactful shift most people can make. Not what they eat. When they eat the most of it, fix: make dinner the smallest or second smallest meal of the day. Not dramatically small, just smaller than breakfast and lunch. Move calories earlier in the day where insulin sensitivity is highest and the same food produces less fat storage and more energy. When you are genuinely too busy for a proper breakfast and lunch, the cost is not just hunger. The cost is higher insulin at dinner from a larger meal, less fat burning overnight, and more belly fat accumulation over time. Protecting lunch matters as much as changing dinner. Habit number 7. Ignoring magnesium. Rich foods at dinner. This is the habit most people have never heard connected to belly fat, and it is the one that compounds everything else on this list. Many cultures with consistently low obesity rates include magnesium-rich foods in their evening meals without knowing why. Dark leafy greens, pumpkin seeds, legumes, nuts, whole grains. Traditional foods that happen to be high in magnesium. Here is what magnesium does overnight for belly fat specifically. First, magnesium is required for insulin receptor function. When magnesium levels are adequate, your insulin receptors respond more efficiently to smaller amounts of insulin. The same dinner requires less insulin to process. Less insulin circulating means the overnight window opens sooner and stays open longer. Second, magnesium regulates the GABA receptors responsible for deep, slow-wave sleep. Deep, slow-wave sleep is exactly where growth hormone releases in its largest overnight pulse. When magnesium is adequate, deep sleep is deeper. Growth hormone pulses are larger. More visceral fat is mobilized and burned overnight. A significant percentage of adults are chronically low in magnesium without knowing it because modern diets are low in whole foods where magnesium naturally exists. A study in the Journal of Research in Medical Sciences found that improving magnesium intake significantly improved deep sleep quality, reduced overnight cortisol, and improved insulin sensitivity, with the effects strongest in people who were previously deficient. Fix: include at least one magnesium-rich food at dinner consistently. A handful of pumpkin seeds on your salad, dark leafy greens as the vegetable side, a serving of lentils or black beans, a few squares of dark chocolate above 85% cocoa as a dessert replacement that actually supports rather than disrupts overnight fat burning. None of these require extra effort, just the knowledge of which foods to reach for. 7 habits, 1 meal, the overnight window either opens or stays closed. Habit 1, what lean people do naturally. Protein, as the centerpiece of dinner, produces overnight fat oxidation, glucagon release, and muscle preservation that carb-centered dinners cannot match. Habit 2, the common mistake. Concentrating carbohydrates at dinner when insulin sensitivity is at its daily low creates a 50% higher insulin response and directly suppresses overnight growth hormone. Habit 3, what lean people do naturally. Vegetables before the main dinner course reduce total meal calorie intake by 11% and lower post-meal insulin through fiber-driven glucose slowing. Habit 4, the common mistake. Alcohol with dinner blocks, liver fat metabolism, and suppresses overnight growth hormone by up to 73% for every hour the liver spends clearing it. Habit 5, the common mistake. A sweet dessert after dinner respikes insulin at exactly the moment it needs to be falling, delaying the fat-burning window by an average of 3.2 hours. Habit 6, the common mistake. Eating the largest meal at dinner combines the highest carbohydrate load with the lowest insulin sensitivity, producing maximum fat storage and minimum overnight fat burning. Habit 7, what lean people do naturally. Magnesium-rich foods at dinner improve insulin receptor sensitivity and deepen slow-wave sleep, directly amplifying the growth hormone pulse that burns belly fat overnight. Here is what I want you to understand before you close this. You are going to eat dinner tonight. That meal is going to create a hormonal environment that runs while you sleep, fat burning or fat storage. The choice is mostly made at the dinner table, not by eating less, by eating differently. 7 small habits, same mealtime, same total food, a completely different overnight outcome. Start with one change at dinner tonight. Just one. Which of these 7 surprised you most today? Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one. If this changed how you think about dinner and belly fat, subscribe to What Science Reveals. Real science explained clearly every single week. And if you want to see how your evening habits and sleep habits connect to everything we covered today, those videos are right here. Dinner, evening, and sleep work together as one complete overnight fat burning system. See you in the next one.